It's a real treat to speak to the Twin Cities Buddhist Association this morning. It's Mother's Day, it's monthly memorial, and Gotan. For those who don't know me, because I'm very glad to see names that I don't recognize, I'm Reverend Ron Miyamura of the Midwest Buddhist Temple in Chicago, and I am the supervising minister of TCBA. I have been the minister for TCBA, actually, as Gail said, 47 years, since 1973, when I was first assigned to the Midwest Buddhist Temple. And I continued to come up to Minnesota, even when I resigned from the active ministry, at the request of Reverends Kujo, Oseki, Ogui, and Sieber, until I returned to the active ministry in 2010. But now, with the minister's assistance, I don't have to travel to Minnesota so many times, 6 times a year, which I did actually until I think about 2015. Yes, now with the minister's assistance, I thank Chemi, Todd, and Gail, who have actually grown the Sangha as I have stepped back. So you folks, thank you very much. Of course, today is Mother's Day, and we observe Mother's Day. We honor and remember our mothers. And there are many kinds of mothers. You know, our birth mothers, our adopted mothers, our aunts who were like mothers, and so many other mothers known to, perhaps even unknown to us, who have taken care of us through the years. Because for each of us, of course, it takes a village. Mother's Day is more than a time to send flowers and candles. You know, we owe a debt of gratitude that we could never totally repay to our mothers and to our fathers. When I think of my own mother, who passed away in May of 2015. So this is my monthly memorial also. I can no longer send her flowers or candy, but I still remember her and keep her memory in my heart. It is, as Shinran said, from the hymns of the Pure Land. When sentient beings think on Amida, just as a child thinks of its mother, they indeed see the Tathagata, who is never distant, both in the present and in the future. And I like to think of all of our mothers, symbolized by Amida Buddha, the wisdom and compassion that mothers share with their children. Mothers share actually with society, with the whole world. And for that, we are thankful. This morning is Gotan. This is a holiday that we celebrate the birth of Shinran Shonin, the founder of Jodo Shinshu Honganji Ha, which is our sect, has given authorization to the Buddhist Church of America, to which we are a part. But some may ask why we celebrate Shinran. You know, someone who lives almost 850 years ago. You know, but besides being the founder of Shin Buddhism, we have much to be grateful for and to acknowledge, because he was a radical and a revolutionary who changed Buddhism, changed the face of Buddhism for many of the things that we take for granted today. Shinran was ordained at an early age and became a novice monk at the age of 9, and went on to study at Mount Hiei, the seat of Tendai Buddhism. He studied for 20 years, but he still found no answers. Then he encountered his teacher, Honen, the founder of Jodoshu, or the sect of Pure Land Buddhism. Together, With other disciples and Honen, Shinran realized that one does not have to be a monk or a nun to find enlightenment. The Pure Land path, which is available to everyone, regardless of gender, age, wealth, education, or whatever. Buddhism, until that time, Buddhism that came from China was a monastic religion with temples built on mountaintops, where one had to renounce normal life and become a monk or a nun and follow the strict rules of discipline. It was, in many ways, an elitist religion, certainly only available to the educated. Shinran went further, and he became the first openly married monk and had a family while spreading the Buddha Dharma among farmers, peasants, fishermen, as well as the educated. He was a non-elitist. This was a religion for everyone, just ordinary people. And along the way, the descendants of Shinran started the Honganji. Actually, it was his youngest daughter and her son who built the first temple and started the spiritual leader, or the Monshu, as a descendant of Shinran. But Shinran, and this started, the Shinshu, Shin Buddhism started the congregational style of temples. Temples in towns and villages where people lived, with members gathering to hear the teachings. Also, we take for granted, but it changed the architecture of buildings. Before Shin Buddhism, the temples would be maybe 100% only for monks, and maybe sometimes maybe 80% for the monks, and the lay people would have 20% of the area. And it was assumed that people could not understand Buddhism. He had to be educated, a monk, to study and study. But the temples, and I remember going to Mount Hiei and seeing the temples. Yeah, they were 80% for the monks, maybe 20% for the lay people. When I went to Koyasan, the Shingon headquarters, it was 100% for the monks, and the lay people could only be on the porch or the veranda on the side, outside the building. But Shin Buddhism changed all that. The Naijin area, or the area for the priests, would be perhaps 20% of the building, and 80% of the building would be for lay people to listen to the teachings. In short, Buddhism came off the mountaintop into the towns and villages to affect the daily lives of ordinary people. And it may not sound radical or revolutionary to us today, but it shifted how Buddhism became available to lay people and just ordinary people. It broke the restrictions of having to be educated or to be wealthy or even nobility to even become aware of the Buddha's teachings. And this broke the exclusiveness of Buddhism. And this is who we are. Shin Buddhism is available to everyone. And to put it in how I approach and understand Shin Buddhism, I have come to use the phrase, "Come as you are and stay a while." I don't remember when I first heard this phrase, but I think it was at the Buddha Study Center in Hawaii on my way home from Japan in 1973. But it is a phrase that's been rolling around in my head for many years. And when I came back to the active ministry in 2010, I started using this phrase as something of a motto or something of a theme. Come as you are and stay a while. And this is a phrase that came from the parable that we use at Ohigan, the parable of two rivers and the white path. And to put this very briefly, a review, in this parable, there's a man who was chased across the desert by bandits and wild beasts. The bandits wanted to rob him. The wild beasts wanted to eat him. And he was running in the desert, and he comes across an unusual river. On one side of the river, it is a river of fire, and on the other side is a river of water. And there is a narrow white path that divides the river that crosses to the other side. And the man was frozen in fear. He didn't know what to do. He could not go back. The bandits and the beasts were behind him. The banks of the river seemed endless, and he was already tired. And the rivers seemed so dangerous. Then he hears a voice calling him, hears a voice calling him to trust himself, to cross the river on that narrow white path. And the voice is saying that he will be safe. So slowly, he starts to cross the river, and he hears another voice encouraging him to continue and to be firm in his determination to escape from the dangers. And soon he is on the other shore, we call Ohigan, the other shore, the shore of Amida's Pure Land. This story, of course, is filled with symbolism and meaning. But briefly, the bandits and the wild beasts symbolize our own desires, which are endless within us. The river of fire is a symbol of our anger and greed. The river of water is a symbol of ignorance, the ignorance of our ego self. The first voice is the voice of Shinran, showing him that it is safe to pass across the river on that narrow white path, the narrow white path of the Nembutsu. And the second voice is the voice of Amida, encouraging us to continue and to keep going on. And it is, for me, the real meaning of the story is, this is one of the more famous and first parables, stories, Buddhist stories, that at the end of the story, the man doesn't become a monk and renounce, renounce the world and become a disciple. No, he continues to be just an ordinary person. And thus we can say, come as you are. Come as you are. There are no requirements. There are no restrictions. And it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. It doesn't matter if you're a monk or a lay person. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Just come as you are, just as you are, and stay a while. Join us in the Sangha of fellow travelers, wandering around in this world, and to be able to laugh at ourselves, at our own limitations. We need a sense of humor. One of the things we often forget, perhaps, when we encounter Buddhism, but Buddhism is full of humor, and laughter is really a good medicine. We need to be able to laugh at ourselves, to see how foolish we are. But it is also a way to how we cope with everything going on around us. And we say, stay a while. And with this, I often use the analogy of incense. We're not in a temple, and we don't have the smell, perhaps, But here, my background is the Midwest Buddhist Temple, Naijin. There's 2 incense burners. People come up, offer incense. But incense is the strongest smell. It overpowers all other smells. So think of ourselves as an onion. If we take an onion down in the kitchen and cut it, it smells, maybe it even makes our eyes water and we cry. But you take that onion and you bring it up to the Naijin and place it close to the incense smoke. You no longer smell the incense. You no longer smell the onion. The incense smoke overpowers you, overpowers the onion. It is because it doesn't change the onion, but it overpowers it. So when we take the onion back downstairs, it smells like an onion again. So this is what I call changing without changing. To change without changing. We are that onion, but when we come close to the Dharma, we let it overpower us. And of course, we then leave and we forget about it, and then we become the onion again. But we can, at times, encounter the Dharma, come close to the incense, and let it change us. It changes us, but we don't change. That is the contradiction of Shin Buddhism, that we change without changing, because we are just ordinary human beings. This is a path that is available to all of us. And we remain onions, but yet we can be overpowered and come to understand a little bit better the wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu, with gratitude and kindness beyond words.